TSA Oxford 2020, question 23. This is a question where we're asked to assess the impact of additional evidence. This is one of 7 of the formats of the critical thinking questions, and it's easily identified by this question format. Which one of the following, if true, most weakens the above argument? The other questions on the 2020 past paper that have this format are question 10, 15, and 23, if you want to get other practice. So in questions like this, we have to first read the passage. We have to first be clear about what the argument is even trying to argue and establish in the first place. Then we consider the effect of each possible answer on that argument, and we're finding the one that most weakens the argument itself. So you have to assume the passage is true, and you have to assume all the possible answers are true. Don't bring your personal opinion into this. Sometimes the passage, it tries to throw you off because it argues something that might be slightly controversial or things that you've heard about in the media recently. Just read the passage itself and approach it from the author's point of view. Okay, let's read. In many cultures, traditional heterosexual male preferences for spouses have centered upon a woman's preparedness and willingness to fulfill child care and other domestic duties, and not on her academic achievements or career potential. This kind of expectation on the part of men has served as a significant obstacle to women pursuing careers outside the home. Okay, so that sounds like an argument right there, right? It's saying that men expecting the woman to be ready to fulfill child care and domestic duties is an obstacle towards women. The attitude is limiting women's career potentials outside the home, right? It is for this reason that recent data on educational attainment within married heterosexual couples is a cause for celebration, okay? In many countries, university-educated men are now proportionally much more likely to marry university-educated women than was the case in their father's generation. This shows that more men are valuing the potential of their female partners to develop a career outside the home, and represents the breaking down of another barrier to equality. Okay, that is an even stronger argument, right? This is saying that based on the data and based on this information here, that that men in heterosexual relationships, university-educated men are now more likely to marry university-educated women than their fathers. Then men are valuing the potential of their female partners to develop a career, and that this shows some kind of breaking down of a barrier to equality. So let's find the argument below in the possible answers that undermines that spirit, right? That undermines that conclusion and that argument in the passage. So A, in many cultures, men now expect to have a more hands-on involvement with domestic duties than was the case in previous generations. That is supporting the original argument that that we're breaking down the barriers to equality, right? If you're arguing that men now have more involvement in domestic duties and sort of taking over for what women used to do in the household, that's not weakening the argument, that's strengthening the argument, right? So that's not the answer. B, many more women are now earning university degrees, irrespective of whether they intend to go on to pursue careers outside the home. Interesting, okay, because that's basically saying that women are just earning university degrees. They're not necessarily going to go develop a career outside the home. They could get the university degree and they could go back to working as a housewife and having children. Again, take your personal opinions out of this. This is a passage in the TSA, right? We're concerned about assuming that these things are true. It says if true, and we're not interested in your personal opinion on this matter. So this sounds like a very strong argument because it really undermines what is saying here, right? It's saying that men are valuing the potential of their female partners to develop a career, but if the women were going to university just to go to university and they weren't necessarily intending on going there to further and develop a career, then this argument that men are dating women because of their possibility of their aspirations for developing a career are not necessarily true, right? So this is, I think this is the answer. We're going to read the rest though. infertility problems are on the rise among couples who focus on their careers first before trying to have children. Okay, that doesn't really that's not really relevant to the whole argument, right? The argument doesn't really talk about fertility, doesn't talk about having children, and that doesn't really tie into this argument. So this is not the answer. The countries where more university educated men are marrying university educated women do not have particularly strict laws regarding gender discrimination at work. Okay, so let's see. The countries where more university educated men are marrying university educated women do not have particularly strict laws regarding gender discrimination at work. Okay, had to read that a couple times. That doesn't really weaken the argument, right? It's saying that that in the countries where the men are marrying the university educated women, they don't have strict laws regarding gender discrimination. So that actually might hurt the female. It might actually hurt the potential of females to get female workers to get employment, because there could be more gender discrimination at work. That's not really strengthening or weakening the argument that men are valuing the potential of their female partners, right, to develop a career. So I don't think D is the right answer. D is kind of throwing us on a loop, and it's a little bit confusing. In recent decades, many countries have experienced a significant growth in the number of men who have received a university education. Okay, that's not really relevant, I would say. I mean, the passage is talking about it's talking about how many women are out there. I'd say that, let me see here. The increase of men getting university degrees actually doesn't affect the proportion of the statistic that's being argued, that there are more university educated men that are marrying more university educated women. Even if there were more university educated men, you'd have to have more university educated women in order to make that proportion go up, right? So I don't think this actually weakens the argument. If anything, it's strengthening the argument that there's more more university educated women out there who the university educated men are out to pursue. So E is not the answer. I'm gonna have to go with B as the correct answer.